Hi,
for
Archad.
accepting this invite.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great, great. I hope audience can see us as well. I see many of you are joining. Thank you so much for joining us on time. Today we have an interesting topic and a session on the story advantage. How telling your own story and having story power with you can help you with promotions, can help you get influence at work, and also help you in your career. So I'm so happy to have Haritosh, my good old friend, but more importantly, world renowned public speaking coach and a storytelling coach. Haritosh, we have so many discussion points because we have been talking about this for a while. We have
Absolutely.
had your session in my private community career champions club and they loved it actually.
Thank you.
You keep talking about importance of storytelling. Tell me more. Let me please help me with that again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harshad. And it has always been an honor to have a conversation with you because we all love sharing our stories. Now, when it comes to professional context, what happens is a lot of time professionals, especially middle management, senior management, they are not telling stories. They are telling reports. They are telling things which are not relevant, and that makes little bit of disconnect. So I'll tell you one great reason why stories is so important, and I'm going to start with a great have you heard about something called insignificant object project, which was about research
Okay.
on storytelling? So you would have
Okay.
heard a lot of people say that no, stories are very important, stories are essential, stories are so crucial, but it is all quantitative, right? Qualitative things, but nobody talks about quantitative things, right? What
Okay.
exactly the value stories add. So there were these two journalists based out of New York, and they did this study called Insignificant Object Project, which was all about finding that okay, yes, everybody is talking about stories are good, stories are great, but what does it add? How much percentage it adds value to when you add a story? So what they did was they did an interesting study. They went to these second-hand store, thrift store in New York, and they got 100 item, very cheap item, $1, $2. So it was $128 for 100 items. And then they reached out to a lot of script writers and story writers, and they said, no, we're doing this study, we want you to write a story about this object. Now a lot of script writers agreed. They wrote some fictional story, and these items were like a second hand puppy or a cup or a pink horse and things like that. So these script writers wrote a story.
Haritosh, I'm sorry, but it hasn't started for LinkedIn. Okay, my students are pinging me, and I cannot see on LinkedIn. I'm really sorry to break you, but
Okay.
for me, it is showing live. It is showing live 720, and if showing that Harshad Bhagwat is, but I don't know now how to connect. Uh, it is showing me YouTube and LinkedIn as well, and
Are
it
you able
gave
to
me
post
that
the
three,
link?
two, one, and all that.
Oh, it's not live. Okay. It says live over here. This is very interesting.
It is saying streaming for me. Okay, inside restream, but on LinkedIn and YouTube, it is not.
Okay. Interesting.
I really don't know why, because it is showing connected.
Hmm. It should be.
It is showing
And
starting
guys,
soon.
if you are actually watching it, please understand we are humans. These things happen. So if it is actually live, then apologies for all the confusion. Okay, let me just try to join from
Yeah,
laptop
yeah.
to
I'm
see what does.
actually.
Should
No,
we try?
I mean,
Should we restart?
I don't know where to connect.
Okay,
I
can you
don't know
share your
where
screen
to
for a
connect
second?
now. I mean, where the problem is like you see it very bad, right? Okay, let me share because it is still showing me live.
Okay,
See,
so
it is
there is that
live here,
LinkedIn button on the top
and
right. There's this LinkedIn right before end
yeah.
stream. Yeah, click on that LinkedIn.
So if I
What does it?
so it is showing me. I don't know now. You see this? It is
No, I don't.
showing me. Uh, oh, wait. I don't know why it stopped right now. It was showing me streaming.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, somebody mentioned they are able to hear and see. Okay, Alaknanda Swaroop, thank you for confirming. Yes, Kumar, I am Perumal. Okay, thank you, Kumar. Harshad, are you able to see the comments?
My students are saying cannot see it.
Okay, very interesting.
Haritosh, your students are able to see it.
I just send you a message. Can you check? I think Harshad, why not to share me too? Okay, let's do one thing. Let's restart. I think that way
But where to? I mean,
because
if
I'm
I
getting
say
a
end
message.
stream, it
I still cannot see it on LinkedIn, but can see on YouTube. Okay, somebody mentioned they are able to see it on YouTube, but they're not able to see it on LinkedIn.
no, not for me, not for me. Actually, on my YouTube, nothing is happening.
Okay, okay, not even in the live section. Huh? Okay, let me be on mute and call you.
I don't know where to connect now. Actually, hello. See the video. Go on mute. Are you seeing those messages also? Yeah, but where are they seeing it? Good question.
Okay, it's like an interesting story we are
Amazing.
living.
So, guys, I'm really sorry, but it seems five people are able to see us, but five people are not able to see us.
Yeah,
Amazing. Thank you, Sunitra. Thank you, Kumar. Thank you, Alaknanda, for confirming. But seriously, we are not able to figure out because five people are messaging me that they cannot see us.
I've sent also a message on my community. So let's see.
I don't know
Is there an
what to do
option to
now,
restart?
Haritosh, because if I end this stream, it will end. And I'm seeing it happening live, streaming. No, my community is saying no, they cannot see me.
Hmm. I'm really sorry to people. Okay,
I think we'll
really
have
sorry guys.
to
We'll
come back,
probably
but it
yeah. We'll try. We'll
reschedule.
try to restart if possible. Yeah, and if not, then yeah, we'll reschedule. Really sorry about this.
Yes. So, hey, audience, thank you so much for being here. Uh, we will come back if possible, but otherwise we will have to reschedule because we may not be able to connect with the same link. I don't know. So Haritosh, let's just exit and come back.
Yes.
Oh. Haritosh, I think it's working okay for LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
I think let's start. Many people could refresh and it is working for me as well on LinkedIn. Someone said welcome back as well.
Thank you. Welcome back. Hi, Siddhi. Okay. So I hope you can hear us and see us.
Um, Audience, can you just put in the chat? Hi, we will start. Yes, thank you, Siddhi.
Hey guys, if you're able to see and hear us, please type audible or visible or AV or something. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I think we are getting message that we are back. We can hear.
All right,
Awesome.
all right. This is cracking
Thank
start to
you.
our LinkedIn lives. Aritosh, it is universe way of telling us that we should be live more on LinkedIn now. We are
Yes.
not used to this environment anymore. Let's
Yes, we should.
all
I
right.
totally
Let's get
agree.
started.
Thank
Aritosh,
you.
my
Thank
first
you,
question
everyone.
was yes. My first question was why is it so important for professionals to do storytelling, have that story power? And you were talking about an interesting example. So please continue, take it from there.
Absolutely. Thank you. So this is where we left this project, which was done by two people or two journalists in New York called Rob Walker and Joshua Glenn. And this project is called the Insignificant Object Project. So what they did was these two gentlemen wanted to know actually how much stories add value to anything. Like no, we all talk about qualitative thing. Okay, it's very good, very nice, but what is the percentage? Business talks about number, so they wanted to know the number. So they went to this second hand store, they got these small cups and toys and then pink horse, things like that, very insignificant thing. 100 items for $128. And then they reached out to a lot of story writers, script writers, and said we want you to write a fictional story. And then they got the stories from few of them, and they went to eBay for auction. So they put the images of the objects, and in the product description they put the stories that they got from the script writers, and then they put it open for auction. Now we'll probably give it 30 seconds for audience to gauge or to think and give an answer. What do you think happened after stories were added? So let's see if anybody have heard about it or not. Can you guess, audience? Please write it in the comment. How much percentage value increased after stories were added to these insignificant objects? Let's see. We'll give probably 30 seconds.
Audience, the question is those objects were at how much price, Haritosh? Was very less
So they
price.
were bought for $128, 100 items, so roughly $1 to $2 per item, and then they were put for auction along with a story. So what you need to guess is what was the final price at which they were sold, or you can say what was the percentage increase in the items prices or items auction. Okay. So we'll give 5 more seconds, and then I'm going to ask Harshad, and then I'm going to give the answer. So Harshad, what do you think was the percentage increase? Okay, Ganesh says 30 to 50%. Uh, Too less. Okay, all right. Okay, let's see, Harshad. What do you think was the percentage increase in the value after stories were added?
Haritesh, you must have seen in premium hotels or restaurants a simple thing like vada pav. Also, they will write it in such a nice language, and then we will see
Mm-hmm.
that 10 rupee roadside or 20 rupees roadside vada pav would be 200 rupees. So maybe 10 times their value.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay. Now we are getting some answers in the chat, which is interesting. Okay. So, okay, Ganesh said 30 to 50%. Some other LinkedIn user 50 to 100%. Abhishek 50. Vaishali 150. Siddhi 50. Okay. A lot of people think 50. Pooja says 70. Okay. Let me tell you guys, this is way too less. Okay. So you have to write wow when you hear the actual number in the comment. And Harshad, do you want to take a guess?
10 times, as I said.
10 times. Okay. It's actually less. So these 100 items which were bought for $128 were sold for approximately $3,600, which means if I do the maths, it's about 2,700%. So $1 item became $27 item without changing anything. It's just by adding story. So type wow in the comment if you didn't know about that. And this was not once, it was done multiple times, and always the results were similar. And what's interesting is if this can happen with insignificant objects, think about your value as a
Wow.
resource, your value as a contributor, your value as human, how much value it can add.
Amazing, amazing. What you just said, Haritosh, is like if insignificant objects can be made valuable, we are humans and we have done awesome work. We have all
Absolutely.
those skills and capabilities. How much we can? So you're saying just facts because we write resumes with this outcome driven language, we put metrics, We talk
Correct.
about them in interviews. So you're saying that's not enough. Then
Absolutely.
how do you explain that through a story? Let you take an example of a typical mid-career professional who is a project manager, let's say, or who is
Hmm.
into consulting, or who is an engineer working in technical field. How do you put your experience into a story?
Absolutely. Let me give you a real world example. So one of my student of confidence storytelling hub, he reached out to me. He's based out of UK, and he said that no, Haritosh, I want to discuss something with you. I am very good at clearing my technical rounds. Only when it comes to this HR round and or these management round, I seem to be doing something because I am not able to cross that. So I asked him, okay, what kind of questions are you getting and what kind of response are you giving? So he said, yeah, these are the questions like, no, tell me about your leadership skills, tell me when you handle crisis. And then I asked him, okay, and what do you answer? And he said, yes, I talk about all the certification I've done, all the projects I've worked upon. But then I asked him, okay, tell me, let's call him Mr. A. Mr. A, tell me a time where you actually had to do firefighting, where your action really impacted the customer. And he started thinking. It took him some time. Then he said, yeah, I remember. It was a day before the Thanksgiving. And he was from a cloud infrastructure. And he said, I clearly remember everyone was going back to home. And it was the time when we got an alert that there is a major severance issue which is coming. And that's when I got alerted. I contacted my offshore team, I contacted my US onshore team. We got on a call, and we could contain a big issue which could have resulted into the millions of dollars of loss to the company. And after that, we were able to save face, not only for our company but for our customers, and we got a lot of appreciations. And then I said, okay, Mr. Ray, why don't you talk about this story? And you know what? After 2 weeks, I got a message from him that, no, Haritos, thank you for that, because I was able to get a job in a top four consulting company, and he's doing great since then. What really changed? He didn't do anything different.
Indeed.
What he was able to do was only tell the story, which was what was going on, what he did in terms of value addition, and what was the impact of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we were preparing for this session, and I remember when you came into my champions community once, I think it was last year around this time, uh,
Yes.
you mentioned typical three stories all professionals need. Can we go back to that discussion and what kind of stories we should all be ready with? We don't know when we will be able to deliver or when we'll get the chance to deliver, but what are those three
Yes.
types or situations?
Absolutely. Thank you, Harshad, for bringing that back. In fact, we just covered one type of storytelling with the previous example, which is called interview storytelling, which is what you utilize when you're going for, let's say, you're trying to switch a job, you're trying to go for a promotion, or you need to represent yourself or your company to various departments. So, this is where you come prepared with the interview storytelling. There are two more stories which are very, very important. The second one is the data storytelling. And we'll talk about the third one towards the end. How about that as a hook for everyone?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So, data storytelling. All of us, if we are working professional, we come across so many numbers, so many graphs, so many charts. But the question is, how much do you actually remember? Right? As they say, data in itself is good, but when you add, and there was a research done, I believe it's in Harvard University if I'm not wrong, where they were comparing the memorability of data. So they compared when people were given just data to remember versus they were told a story about the data, the narrative about the data, and they found that when you add a story to a data, it is 20 times more likely to be remembered. Let me ask you, Harshad, what was the percentage increase in value after stories were added to these insignificant object?
Yes, I think it was like 360 times or 270
20,
times or something. Yeah,
2700%. It was sold
700.
for
Yes,
3000%. Now if I would have randomly said, probably you may not have remembered. This is
yes.
the power. As they say, stories help you stick. So whenever you have a important data, important perspective that you want to share, you want to add in the story, contextual, okay, not a random story, but a contextual story. uh, Another practical example I'll give is, let's say you are presenting these monthly reports or annual reports, and if you see there is a change in the trend, maybe the graph was going up and it goes down. One way of saying that, okay, this month we had a downfall of 20%. The other way is you can bring a story about that. No, this being the end of the year, we were expecting little less downfall, and this is owing to the fact that most of the our users on a vacation. But you know what, once they are back, we are expecting another 40% surge in next month. Now what we have done is we have kind of given that a narrative that this is where it was and this is what it is leading to. It will be much easier for number one for them to understand, and number two, to retain or remember.
Amazing, amazing. This brings me to the topic because we are implementing AI into all we do a lot.
Yes.
Do you think now with AI you can analyze numbers very fast?
Oh,
Just
yes.
yesterday I was watching a video how typical Excel model, financial model or data analysis model would take days for someone to build and do it. Now there are automations where you can do it in few hours. Now what mid-career professionals should do, how do you present that? How can you make
Absolutely.
sense of that and put story around it? So do you
Correct.
think is a perception also for the other person? And Abhishek was saying that you connect the listener with the data actually. You tell what listener is related to or what they want to know from that data
Absolutely,
in this
100% agree to
storytelling.
that. 100% agree to that. When we are telling stories, one thing we do need to remember is why we are telling the story. What is the reason,
Hmm.
right? Which, because we are living in this amazing yet scary times where most of the things can be done by AI. What is left is, as my mentor says, H to H connection. It's
Hmm,
not
hmm.
no longer B2B or B2C. It's
Yeah.
H to H. We stand for human to human connection. How do you connect to another human? How do you connect as a customer to your salesperson? How do you connect as a manager to your team member? How do you connect as somebody who's trying to, get sales? Now you can get all the things, most of the things done through AI, but this connection part is where your stories, your communication matter even more than what it used to be. Because for rest of the things, yes, you can do chat gpt, others can also do chat gpt, but it's your perspective, it's your experience, your stories that will add value, and this is why it has become even more important than how it was. In fact, a few years back, there was a research done in Princeton University, which is again very amazing research. What they did was, they got 5 6 person who
Okay.
had never met in their life from altogether different backgrounds, and among them was one storyteller, and they put all these MRIs around their brain to just to measure brain waves, how their brains are responding and things like that. And as expected, everyone's brain wave and functions were at different level, they were nowhere correlated. But here is what amazing happened: as soon as the storyteller started to tell a story, within few minutes they could see a change in pattern.
Yeah.
And by the time it was the peak of the story, all the brain waves were in synchronization,
Wow.
which means that without any physical alteration, without touching, without drugging anyone, that storyteller was able to influence their thought process. Now, this is something that AI is yet to reach, and this is where learning, practicing, and always, growing with storytelling is so important, because this is one human skill that is going to be there, has been there since ages, and I am pretty sure is going to be there for ages.
Ritosh, you talked about ages and why all those humans, all those participants had same brain waves.
Yes,
The reason being, if you see all our Puranas, uh,
absolutely,
Panchatantra, Aesop fables, everywhere, or even Bhagavad Puran, is all stories, right? Full of
absolutely,
stories. If you see those
absolutely.
cave paintings, and we have many
That's how it started.
places in
Yes.
India, it's like they're telling their regular day-to-day stories in even cave paintings. So I think we are hardwired for listening to stories, and I
You
think
said the term. You said the term. This is exactly the term that lot of neuroscientists says that uh, our human brains are hardwired to listen to stories. And this is anyone parent over here. This is one exercise you can do. No, if you go to your kid in the evening or in the morning and say, you know what, I want you to see this PowerPoint. We all know what kind of reaction we are gonna get. But if you flip that and just say, you know what, I want to tell you a story, even though that kid is 2 years, 10 years, whatever it is, they will be excited to know about the
yeah,
story. Now, if that continues is based on your storytelling skills, that is a separate one. But at least the name story in itself triggers something in our brain. So that is why we are literally hardwired to listen to stories, as you said.
absolutely. You just mentioned this subtly, but let me bring that up. If you see Shark Tank, and
Yes.
I've been watching US Shark Tank for 10, 12 years, that has been my entrepreneurship MBA throughout. It literally taught me everything: business planning,
Yes.
modeling, pitching to investors. If you see, they hardly show any PowerPoint, which is boring. They may show some product quick
Products,
video,
yes.
or a quick their own story, but it's mostly through conversations, and it is so engaging. Many of the Shark Tank videos are 20, 30 minutes long. It's,
Yeah.
I think, because of the story they tell at the start. Actually,
True.
if you see, all their things is like
I've
how
seen
this
many of them.
product came into being, who am I, why am I doing this, and how it will change someone's life, or who will be my customer. So it is only through the stories, and those investors hate PowerPoints or complicated,
They don't need it
diagrams,
anymore.
smart arts.
Correct.
There is nothing. And if you compare it
Absolutely.
with this corporate boardrooms, where those complicated diagrams, which are, I think, important for the sake of putting it on, but that should not drive your meeting. What you say cannot be the PowerPoint. What you say should be the story. PowerPoint can be the facts and data you want to just
Absolutely.
showcase to back your point. um,
Absolutely.
Haritosh, to the next point is, I remember one of our mentors, Russell Brunson, which we both follow. He says that in the morning he remembers something which has already happened in his life, and by the time he comes to the breakfast table, he will tell that as a story to his child. That's how he practiced storytelling. But I have this problem that when I want to tell something, I want to go to the last thing immediately, because I don't want to bore the person, or I
Mm.
want to just tell the result quickly. Is there any framework I can use to tell
Mm-hmm.
the story impromptu? I don't have to prepare it, but I can use it at the
Absolutely.
last moment.
Absolutely, very very well said. I mean, I'll just go back to the point that you're mentioning. A lot of time I work with a lot of founders or entrepreneurs also, and they have this company profile, and it is very interesting because 9 out of 10 times it will be a 20 slide or 20-page PDF, and this will be so text heavy. And I ask them, okay, I'm gonna go away 5 foot. Do you think I can really read that? Because this is having 20 lines in a
Yes.
slide, right? And I've seen that. We all come from corporate, we all have seen that in corporate presentation, which is so text heavy. And at times after we see, our brain kind of sleeps off. It's like, okay, enough. I already got more than enough for today. I don't want to see any more text on that. And as you said, no, presentation is a visual aid. PPT is a visual aid. It's not your presentation. One of my mentors say that no, if whatever is there in the PPT is exactly what you're going to say, one of you should not be there, right? Either it's either you or PPT. So it shouldn't be the case. It should be a aid to what you want to present. Now back to the question, how can we present a story in a way which is interesting and simple enough? So there are
Yes.
many frameworks. There's a very famous hero's journey and all, but I want to give a very simple framework which can work superbly when it comes to talking about sales, talking about customer experience, talking about corporate presentation. It is called um, then, now, and how. Very simple. Then,
Okay.
now, and how. Three words. So, for example, let's say you're selling a software product. Let's say you're selling a ERP solution. So you're gonna say that no, there was this big US client who was suffering with their customer relationship software. They were getting into losses of millions. There were a lot of issues. They got compliance challenges, and they had to comply. At that time our company came into the front,
Okay.
and once they applied our product, it took them couple of months to roll out it over their different offices. And then they could see that their operational efficiency increased by 20%. They were able to have more cohesion among the different global teams, and because of that we were able to get repeat business from them, lot of customer appreciation, and even we got nominated for some of their internal customer awards. So then was what was the problem challenge they were facing. Now is what happened after your product, your service, you as a person who's going for interview, whatever happened after that, and how then, now, and how did your product change. So this is how you show that. So this is a very simple framework, works a lot. And if you think about it, we all have seen those TV ads, right? Once upon a
Yes.
time I used to be very fat, and then I got this magic pill, now I'm super skinny. They're using the same framework, then, then, now, and how. So very simple,
Perfect.
and people can start using it.
Well said. Thank you for this framework. Yes, there are complicated frameworks, but this is easy to understand. I think it is before, during, after. Very simple to understand time wise as well, right?
True, true, true.
What was the problem before? What did we do? And what
How did
was
we get
the
to that point?
solution? And yes, yes, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Any practical scenario you have personally seen that just because of storytelling, someone crack that interview or sell to a high ticket client? Any practical example you must have seen?
Absolutely. I mean, there are many practical example. I just told you about Mr. A who were able to get this job because he was able to tell the stories. And there have been many scenarios where people are passionate about what they do, but what they are not passionate about is how do they articulate. So I had this person from Ireland, and he was from a testing domain. I was an automatic tester, and he really wanted to get to this multinational company. But the problem was he was not able to explain in simpler terms what exactly he does. He was able to use all the technical jargons and this and that and procedures and all. And I asked him, do you really think your management round or HR people are going to even understand what you're saying? And that's where simplification, a lot of times when we are telling something, we tell it from our own frame of reference. But one of the cardinal rule in storytelling and communication is knowing who is your audience and
Hmm.
speaking in their terms. Are you using some of those jargons we did? And the best one is the acronym. We all have so many acronyms which nobody else understand. And if I tell you a acronym BDCCOM, now you'll keep thinking about what is that acronym, and you'll
Yes,
not pay attention to what I'm telling next. So understanding where your audience, whether it's an interview, whether it's
yes,
going for your investor pitches, whether it's going for a town hall, knowing where your audience is, what is their level of understanding, and telling your story at a level that they can understand is one of the biggest things you can do as a speaker and storyteller.
amazing. Hey, audience, thank you for being here. If you have any questions to Haritosh, please put them into chat box or comment box wherever you're seeing us. I will spotlight your question and Haritosh will answer. And by the time you ask your question, I will ask my last question. Haritosh, you remember you were talking about three
Yes.
typical stories. Can you reveal the last one, the third
Okay,
one?
it's time to reveal the last, and I think one of the most important story is called the why stories, right? So whether you are a working professional, whether you are a founder, whether you are a senior management, knowing your why, knowing why you do what you do, knowing why these rules are at first place. I'll give you a very simple example. When I joined my first company, Mindtree Limited, we were given this book of stories, which at that time I didn't understand why, but it was all about telling their values, what is allowed and what is not allowed in a form of a story.
Okay.
And what happened afterwards was that because we were able to read those stories, we could easily gauge that what is it that the company Mindtree stands for. For example, there is no compromise when it comes to ethics, and they gave example of where they were high performer people, but they did unethical activities and they were let go immediately, while others who were a little bit mediocre in terms of performance, they were given training opportunities, opportunity to grow, but there was no absolutely zero tolerance towards unethical behavior. Now, it could have been told, but when it came with a story, it became
Mm,
so easy for us to remember. So, telling your why story, whether you are a professional, why you do what you do, whether you are representing a company, why your company does, what does your product stand for, what are the values of your company. When you know the why of that, in even a lot of founders, they have this amazing product, but if you ask them why are you doing this product, they kind of stumble and they're not really sure why they're doing. So I think all of us need to go back, and same applies for coaches as well. They're coaching, but when you ask them why are you coaching this and not that, they're not really clear. So knowing, honing, and practicing your why story can be a game changer.
Thank you for telling the third one, and you're absolutely right. This is very connected with Simon Sinek's,
Starting
golden, circle framework,
golden.
where the why is the center, and
True.
that really helps you be passionate, be committed to what you do, and I think it gives you happiness at your work, right? Like you're connected with your work. And if you're in an interview, they want to know whether you really want to join that company or whether you really want to do that work, or are
True.
you here just because you want that salary. So this why story really helps you. And I think
Mm,
having that clarity ourselves first,
it
why
helps.
do I go to job every single day, why do I work so hard, uh, gives
Yes.
us that push. And especially when the things are not going well, this why
Mm-hmm.
story gives us that energy and foundation to be there on. uh, Thank you so much. I have one more question, but before that we have another question, or first question from the audience, who is Prajwal. I hope you can see it on screen.
Yes.
Prajwal is saying, how do you evaluate your storytelling if it can sell for you? So, how do you
Yes.
evaluate? Like, are there any
Very good
parameters
question.
of good storytellers and others?
You know, if you would have asked me this question some time back, I would have given you some fancy frameworks and parameters. But I've lot of storytellers that I follow. So there's a person named Michael Haig, who's a Hollywood script writer, and recently he sent an email. So I'm going to reuse that now. He said that the best parameter to check your storytelling is that once you tell a story, you ask the other person to tell you back, and the output that you get from the other person is the real test of how good your story is. So if I tell you a
Okay.
story and you can tell me back story the way I wanted to tell myself, that is where you will feel like okay, you've done a good job. Otherwise you might want to revisit and see where exactly you want to focus, or where exactly the focus is drifting away. So that is one simple easy way. Now, if it can sell for you, the second part, I think one of the best ways to sell without selling is through storytelling. So if you can tell the story about your product, right? If you see all the advertisement that you see on TV or in digital media, great example is the Cadbury, the chocolate. example where they don't even talk about chocolate. They talk about a girl who's trying to play cricket, and she plays a shot, and there's this boyfriend or friend who's really excited and does and all of that. In all of that, there's just a story, and then they're celebrating with Cadbury. They don't publish, okay, this has got so much chocolate, so much percentage. It is all about celebrating. So they are connecting the emotion with their product. So if you can connect your product with certain emotions, that's when the magic happens, and that's when people will buy without you trying to sell hard, as they say.
Great question, Prajwal. I have a related question to his question.
Please.
Audience, if you are around, please type your question in the chat and I'll spotlight you. Related question, Haritosh, is how do you practice storytelling? If you
Mm,
are good or not, as you said, depends on the audience response and
correct.
if you can connect with emotion. But we are not born storytellers or we may not know
We
how
may
to
not.
do it. So, how do you practice that?
Great question. I think the way to practice storytelling is you need to become part of any community, any speaking organization, or any place. In fact, there are a lot of AI tools as well, so you can even use tools like, I know, Udly. I work with Udly. So Udly is a great platform where you can just upload your stories, and then you can get a feedback that, no, you're using too many filler words, or your eye contact is not proper, you're not smiling how much you want to smile, and things like that. So there's a lot of hard feedback that you can get. But if you want to again go further, then I would recommend getting a coach which can help you becoming part of a community. So these are the three things: being part of a community where you can practice and get feedback, using the AI tools and other things to really get the hard feedback, and then if you want to go further, hire a coach who can help you in that.
So start today. I think tell your children first daily stories, as I said with my
Correct.
mentor.
And,
Daily,
and one last tip is, don't tell you're going to tell a story. Right? The moment you say, oh, let me tell you a story, our brain are wired by so many bad stories that a lot of us actually switch off. So just tell the story. Don't tell that, you know what, I'm going to tell you a story. Just start.
so getting into it directly.
Yes, just get into it. Yes.
Even some people say to be honest with you or something like this, right? To
Don't need to.
start something. Don't say directly get into that. So directly, I remember the time when, directly you start, right? That's what you're saying. Brilliant. Um, Another question from Vaishali. How can someone with technical background use storytelling? I was
Wow.
waiting for this question. Haritosh, when you said put emotions, when you said, I mean, connect with the audience, how do you
Absolutely.
connect? Let's take interview scenario. The person on the other side is not interested in the emotions part, probably, but the
Mhm.
question is highly technical or domain oriented. So how do you use storytelling in such scenarios?
Absolutely. I mean, see, in a lot of scenarios you can use storytelling, but again, I'm gonna be putting a caveat also. You can't just use story for every question, because if you do that, then it can also question, people can also question your authority. So if it is a hardcore technical question, you need to give technical answer, but at the same time you have to, as I said, understand where your audience is. If your interviewer is a hardcore technical person, there's no problem in using technical jargons. But let's say there is a manager who doesn't understand, then you have to tell in a way that they understand. So ultimately it is all about who is on the other side, whether it's the audience, whether it's the interviewee, whether it's somebody else who is evaluating you. Based on that, you need to tell the stories. And we feel like technical. uh, you have been in you were in the corporate world for quite a number of years, Harshad. I was in TCS for a number of years before I said, and I could see that, as we progress in our career, the more we need to do is communication. So we have communication with our teams, we have communication with our customers, managers, stakeholders, and these are the perfect places where you can actually tell stories. In fact, I will tell you a great analogy. when I was in TCS, there used to be a lot of times when we used to have customer demos. And the typical customer demo is when you show, and this is the website, you click the button here, you go here, you put this drop down, blah, blah, blah. And once I said, okay, let me try something else. So instead of telling this thing, what I did was I actually said, no, today I'm going to talk about Mr. A, who is so and so, and this website is designed for him. So once he will come here, he will be able to get this thing done and that thing done, and this is how they are going to impact. Now, I did it
Wow.
as an experiment, but what happened was customers were so impressed with that the next time the customer itself said, "No, Haritosh, last time you did the demo because they were technical customer, they need to present to
Yes.
their business. Can you do the similar presentation demo for this particular demo as well?" So once they got the taste of how it can be done better with stories, they said, "Okay, I want this better." So you can also try where you are doing demos, presentation. See if you can present in a form of a story where you talk about the same thing, then, now, and how. What is things before your system, your product, your connector, your tool, what happens afterwards, and what is the whole process behind it. So that could be applied even in technical technical scenarios as well.
Perfect, perfect. Well said. Your format works in all situations. And
Yes,
what you have essentially done is giving them a walkthrough how a user or how a customer would walk through. So, uh,
correct.
uh, I know like this architecture world because my elder sister works there, and they have these tools where instead of showing
Hmm.
you the a map or that floor plan, they create that 3D walkthrough, right?
Yes.
So basically, that's what you're creating. That hey,
In
and
fact, a lot of real
if you
estate
go to a
people are using that for selling their houses because instead of, especially during COVID time, I remember they built this 3D website where instead of them showing, okay, this is a 2 BHK house, 3 BHK house, you are able to actually go inside virtually and see and basically live a future story, as I say.
and indirectly that's what they say, that here you imagine that you would cook here, imagine that you would
Correct.
play with your child here, that's the story, right? So
Absolutely.
and as Haritosh said, if the person on the other hand is non-technical, then it's actually more important to help them imagine how would it look like, or how would it uh, experience like for the other person. Very similar question I think you can take from there is Prajwal is
Yeah.
asking the next question. You are into role transition from one industry to other. What roadmap helps for better storytelling? Ritosh, I think we just answered that probably.
Correct.
Especially it
I'll,
is
I'll probably
required
give
for
another
other
30 seconds
values.
to that. I think, Prajwal, that's a great question. And I think if you look at this from a transition perspective, you have to also look at what is constant. And the constant in this case is you or the person who's going through the transition. So you have to somewhere link it to their values, their whys. Why are they moving? For example, if Harshad or I talk about why did we come out of this corporate world, because we had this urge to do something else. So even in our corporate world, we used to do a lot of things which were not the normal or what do you say, exploratory work, but we wanted to grow beyond and we wanted to have a different kind of impact, and that's where we moved industry or moved scenarios, but our values remain the same, our why remain the same. So you have to think about when you're talking about your role transition from one industry, one company, one place to another, you have to think about what are the constant. In most of the cases it will be the person or the values, and you take from there and talk about, okay, this is where this transition is going to help in this value, realization of this value, and things like that. So that will be a one way to start with. Harshad, do you want to add anything to that?
No, no, you're absolutely right. The why story is more important. That why do you want to transition that
Yes.
industry, right? And you have to show what are the constants. This other person may not be able to understand the way you see it.
True.
So story for me is always I tell my students that influencing means they see you in a particular way, and we see ourselves in a particular way. How can we redirect them?
How they can be absolutely 100% agree.
Yeah. So telling a story makes sense. And the similar question from Prajwal is, what communities you can suggest? Prajwal, actually, Haritosh runs storytelling community, and that's how I know him for last 3 years. And couple of our champions have also joined his community, where he practices this skill, or he helps them practice this skill every week. And he has even public speakers, entrepreneurs, corporate professionals in his community. So please ping him on LinkedIn. That will be the best
Thank you,
way to
thank you.
reach him.
And yes, of course, I run a community, but there are other places as well. I also want to answer that. There are things like Toastmaster, which is a worldwide
Yes,
organization, non-profit organization who can help you in that. So that's also there. There are other such communities as well. So it's not that there's only one community. Mine. I don't want to be so self-centered, but I think what you need to remember when you're trying to join a community is that, are your values matching with the value of the community? Do you really think you can get value and provide value to the community? If that happens, you can definitely join any community.
and by the way, Haritosh is distinguished Toastmaster. So Haritosh, you would like to tell about that as well?
Okay, this is like an highest educational award in Toastmaster. It takes a couple of years. I think not the best place to talk about Toastmaster. I mean, the educational program of Toastmaster, but yes, it's a journey of couple of years that you have to take. You have to play. It involves a lot of speaking, lot of doing other activities, lot of leadership. So that's when you complete those things, it becomes you become a distinguished Toastmaster. So that's, I'll keep it to that.
Amazing, amazing. And probably our last question, Abhishek is saying, what should be the best connector or filler to start storytelling? I think I was just, or you were saying that don't say that, let me tell you a story,
Yeah,
directly get into it. So,
correct.
what's that transition from what you're saying to the story?
Correct. So the best connector is having no connector. Just start with a story, because then we directly get attuned. Other way would be that, no, let me tell you about the time. Like I used it multiple times today when I was talking about, okay, let me tell you a time I had to give the demo. So I just gave you a little bit of context of what I'm getting into, and then start with a story. Sometimes what happens is, I mean, lot of time what happens, people are giving too much of context, and they keep building the context and context. I was born here, I did this, this is my qualification, and then I got to this job and that job. By the time you're getting to the real stories, people are already tuned off. So you want to make sure that you get to the core of the story as soon as possible, so that you are able to sustain their focus and attention for longer time.
Absolutely. By the way, Haritosh, Abhishek is from my community and he's part of our Legends program. If you remember,
Amazing.
6 months back, I had come to you to give me ideas on
Yes.
this boardroom meetings, which we are implementing every weekend, where
Yes.
champions from my Legends program have a particular topic which they
Nice.
have in their boardrooms, meaning their meetings with their clients, with their team, and they practice that. So, coming week, Abhishek's topic is to pitch to me in front why you, in the sense, why we should hire you. Okay. And as you just said, I mean, I'm helping him prepare, but he should not go too much into just his context, but actually matching with what
Correct.
the listener wants
All
to
the best,
see.
Abhishek. I'm sure you're gonna rock.
Amazing. Amazing. Thanks for asking this question, Abhishek. Rajan is asking any story example or framework for career gap.
Good question, Rajan. Again, it comes back to how do you articulate. First of all, I am of the opinion that we should be authentic, we should be real. If there is a genuine reason, maybe you have been let go of something, you got to be honest about it. You can't be faking it, because if you're faking it somewhere, now or later it will be figured out by the people, and that would, yeah, you won't be able to save your face, if I may say. So first of all, you have to be honest and authentic. The second would be connecting the dot. It's not only about, let's say you have a gap, what is important is what did you do during the gap, and how did whatever you did during the gap is going to add value to whichever job you're going to get into. Let me give an example. Let's say you were laid off from one job and you had a gap of about 6 months. Now, what skills did you learn which will help in the next company that are going to hire you? So that's what you want to talk about. That's what you want to focus more. Maybe I did this certification on customer journey. Maybe I learned about design principles. Maybe I learned about generative AI, whatever it is, and think from their perspective what is it that they need more and focus on that part of it. uh, and then we have the career expert. I know, Harshad, you deal with a lot of
Yes.
professional who sometimes have to undergo these kinds of incidents. So how, what is your advice to them as well? I love to know that.
Absolutely. I think the similar framework, right? What you just said. What was the challenge when you had to leave the job or there is a gap? What did you do during? And what's now? Because you will be joining that next company today or tomorrow, and they're judging you now. So now, are you ready to not just join, but are you ready with that value add? Are you ready with the latest skills? So
Mm,
always end the story connecting back to them or what they
yes.
want to hear. And actually, in my community region, if I'm not sure if you're part of Champions Club, we have this separate story formats: career gap story, layoff story, career change story, or general career story. How can you tell the entire thing in a particular format? So it's better to put it into format and then practice delivery. But what Haritosh gave, the format can be very well suited. Be real, but don't get too much into complaining mode that
Oh yes.
this happened. You don't want to get any favors from them. You want to show that this happened, past is past, but now I'm ready. Not ready because I need that salary. I'm ready with these certifications. I'm ready with this learning. I'm ready with the confidence to join back. Or the problem which I had, with which I had to have that career gap, is solved now. So I'm ready to join back. Again, why storytelling is important? If you just say this, they won't believe you, because everyone says this, yes, I'm ready to join from tomorrow in an interview. But if you tell it in a nice way, they will trust you. So I think stories give, Haritosh, stories actually give us that trust, right, from the other
Absolutely.
person.
That's the
um,
best way to gain trust out of anything, is telling the real, true, authentic stories.
Absolutely. But again, you don't want to tell that story just to get favor or just to
Yes,
get that
it's not the
sympathy.
pity story that you want to tell, right? It's not about getting the pity, as Harshad said. It's about telling this is what happened, and then focusing on what you can add value to, why you're going to be a valuable resource for that company.
Either way, same format can be used if you couldn't complete a project on time or you couldn't get the deadline or a
Correct.
project deadline by time. So you can tell the same, that what happened, how did you manage that, and what will you do next. Same format. Vaishal is asking a question which I think we have covered. What are the common mistakes professionals make? I think saying that, let me say a story, that is
Correct.
the most common,
Yeah,
or
I'll
talking
just
about
quickly give
context a lot.
2 3 things, and I know we are all over an hour. Can you believe it?
Yes.
It's been over an hour? So
Yes,
yes, we
yes.
need to wrap it up as well. But yes, I think we covered a few things. First of all, is not giving too much of context or backstory, because by the time you get to the real story, people have lost their focus and attention. Not following a clear structure, like the structure that we talk about. If you don't have the structure, you'll keep talking about this and that, and it doesn't, if there is no structure, then the audience are not able to remember. And the third thing is, one of the most important thing is knowing the why are you telling that story. That purpose has to be there. So once the purpose is clear, that's when you get a lot of clarity yourself, and that's when your audience, whoever is on the other side, whether it's an audience, whether it's an interviewer, whether it's your team who's listening, they will also get clarity. So that's where I will submit up.
And let me take this one, last one. If you're non-technical and listening person is technical, How do
Mm.
you tell story technically? Prajwal, there is nothing like technical story, non-technical story. There is nothing like this. I Let me give you a quick last minute thing. Storytelling for me at least is a walkthrough. You're
Correct.
taking that person as if you're carrying that person with you through that, let's say, product, or through that project you did last time. So even if you're non-technical, they know that you're non-technical. As much technical facts you have to tell to the technical listener, but give them a walkthrough of what you actually did that time. So storytelling is not about technical, non-technical, or there is actually in real life. See, even if the person is technical from the background, the way they will see you, the way they will trust you, their heart is still what you call non-technical. Okay, so I think stories are the ways to connect to them on a deeper level and make them visualize what you went through, what you did through the career gap or through that project. So, Aritosh, let's end here with that note that you're basically making someone walk with you through a
Absolutely.
story. Take that ride with you through a story. If it was a past ride or it is a future ride, and if you
Absolutely.
can do that well to the listener literally feels that they are connected with you, and finally the decisions are still made by humans, and that's why we need this human skill which AI cannot replace. So thank you so much for being here, Ritosh. I know you're busy, and thank you so much. I know you have a session starting in few minutes,
That's okay.
so thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Harshad, for
And
having me, and thank you, audience, for some amazing questions. All of you put some very, and also I want to acknowledge, both me and Harshad want to acknowledge, we went through some technical challenges, but
yes,
you hold on to us. So we are really, really grateful to all of you for being here and for helping us, supporting us. So thank you so much.
thank you. And reach out to us on LinkedIn. Those are our direct channels, and we'll reply to you anyway. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.